Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, I think things are being set up probably the right way. It's being set up in the most annoying way possible, but probably the right way. Continually, the Lions and the Vikings and all these teams just keep not losing. And I don't mean to say winning, because they're not winning so much as they're not losing. These teams are not playing well. They're nearly losing to not super good teams. And then the team that's beating them or should beat them gives the game away. The Bears absolutely should have beat the freaking Lions. Arizona should have beat Minnesota. That didn't happen. The game was just given away. The reason I say that things are being set up exactly as they should is, let's be honest, I don't think it should be the Bears and the Cardinals that expose these teams. It should be the Packers. So here's the deal. You got to do it, right? If you can continue being the team that you've been the last 2 weeks, and the Lions continue to be the team that nearly loses to a bunch of to bad teams, I don't see any reason why you can't officially plant your flag at the top of the NFC North. And it doesn't even matter if you beat them, then we're still not in first place. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What you need to do this coming Thursday is make sure everybody is fully aware of the fact that the Packers are the best team in the NFC North. Then that's fine. I think it's better that way. I think it's better. It would be nice if they had lost, maybe, the Lions had lost maybe their last 2 games. We come in, make it 3, and they're just in a downward spiral. That'd be cool and all. But no, that's fine. Just keep inflating your record so when we beat you, it seems as though we beat a much better team than we did. Well, I'm going to talk all that trash. Don't just, you know what? If you're going to keep stealing wins like that and then parading around like you've earned your freaking record, okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and talk some trash. At least when we narrowly beat the Bears, we beat them with skill. It took skill to absolutely decimate that line and block that kick. The Bears left Zadarius Smith unblocked. They wasted a timeout by not getting a playoff, got a penalty, left Zadarius unblocked, and then ran their own clock out and just threw an air ball. The Vikings had to do literally 0 things for the Bears to give that game away. I will give the Vikings their flowers for having a seemingly pretty stifling defense. But even that, it was at best a bend, don't break defense, because the Arizona Cardinals seemed to move through the defense with very little effort. It wasn't until they got all the way down there, couldn't get a touchdown, and then kicked like 9 field goals. But still, it just watching it felt pretty suffocating. Felt like Arizona had to work real hard to get any amount of yards, so I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Anyways, this is Lions week, so we're going to, at some point, turn our attention to that. Having missed a bunch of games and all kinds of stuff, there's just a lot to get through. So I spent a lot of time collecting all the things that I had saved, and I want to try to rip through these as thoroughly as I possibly can. Whether or not we're going to get through it all, I don't know. And yes, a lot of this has to do with laughing at just the absolute worst, most disgusting team on planet Earth, the Chicago Bears. It's funny because they're not even, I don't even know if they're as bad as they were last year. It's not even a matter of being bad when I say worst. I've just never seen such a chaotic, disorganized pile of garbage in my life. But we'll get to that. First of all, zooming out a little bit, looking at some NFL news. Excuse me. Randy Moss had made some kind of an announcement that he's dealing with a medical issue, something with his eyes or whatever. I don't exactly know, but he did ask for prayers and whatnot, so it sounds like it might be relatively serious. He said he and his family are battling through something right now. I kind of dug into the context a little bit. Apparently, people were commenting on his eyes in terms of them looking kind of yellow. Could mean a couple different things, but the one that comes immediately to mind is some kind of liver disease. So don't want to speculate too much, but just to kind of, I guess, put out the context that it could potentially be something not super great. But hopefully he's doing okay, or at least will be okay. Kind of a weird transition, but sticking with just kind of the NFL things that I wanted to comment on. Look, I understand how freaking annoying it is with the Chiefs and all that. I just kind of went on a whole diatribe about that. These teams just getting absolutely lucky. I will say, though, that the whole rigged thing is stupid to me. For a billion reasons. Number one being every player and coach and everybody else would have to be involved in it. To have things like a botched snap that gets recovered, I mean, they would have to be really good actors. The whole thing is just ridiculous. But even beside that, why would they do it? We all hate it, first of all. The entire world wanted the Chiefs to lose. Why do it? And if you're saying it's because the Chiefs are somehow popular, first of all, the Chiefs only became popular because of Pat Mahomes and the fact that they were winning already by themselves without help, unless you think that this thing happened organically from the beginning, where the NFL made Pat Mahomes look like he was throwing really awesome passes, but somehow he wasn't. If you wanted to rig it, wouldn't you do it to rig it for Dallas, which has the largest fan base and would pull in the most amount of money? Teams like Pittsburgh and Chicago and Green Bay and teams with very large fan bases. Kansas City? Not one of the biggest. It's becoming one of the biggest. All the fair weathers always go with, whatever's winning, but it doesn't make any sense. It's also, I just want to point out that it's funny how the NFL always seems to, quote unquote, rig it for the teams that also just so happen to be the most talented with the best quarterback head coach combination, which is weird because those are the teams that would win anyways. You know what I mean? I think the best argument you could possibly make for, quote unquote, rigging the NFL would be referee bias. And I don't even think that would come from the top down. I think what you're seeing, if anything, would be more of a subconscious bias by referees. For example, you get some no-name loser that runs and kind of takes a shot, nobody cares. Anybody lays a finger on Pat Mahomes, they throw the flag. That doesn't have to be a directive from on high. That's just referees having the exact same guttural feeling we all are when you see Pat Mahomes gets hit and all of us just go, Outside of that, though, come on, man. I'm much more inclined to believe that guys like Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes are involved in some kind of witchcraft and voodoo or some weird ritual with a tree, praying to a tree. I don't know. I don't know how you do it, but that would probably make more sense to me. Anyways, there was a ton of not now I know the NFL is rigged or whatever. And I say stuff like that too as a joke, and maybe a lot of these are also jokes, but for those of you that are dead serious about it, there's no way. There's no way. You know how quickly people would find out? Think about it. Somebody had to go up to the Raiders and say, hey, man, I'm going to need you to snap this before the quarterback is ready, and then quarterback, don't jump on the ball, let the other team get it so that they can win. That's what you think happened? Again, I know the referee thing at the end or whatever. I get that. Maybe there's some referee bias. I don't know. But that's a different conversation than the NFL as a whole is rigged. Got to talk a little bit about the Jets because it's freaking funny, man. First of all, this is going back a little ways. This is from November 27th, but Aaron Rodgers was asked if there's a leak problem in the Jets building, and he says 100% yes. Which is funny because it's just that the organization is garbage, and these are the little things, not little, they're massive things, but we'll call them the little things that Rodgers didn't think of when he wanted to go to the Jets, when he just thought, first of all, I'm the one that makes this team go. I'm sure he actually believed that. Number two, I'm going to get my defense, and I'm going to get my number one wide receiver back, and I'm going to win tons of Super Bowls. The other thing that's funny, though, is he says 100% yes. So it's interesting when a leak happens and guys like Rodgers or the coaches or whoever come out and they're like, that's a completely fake report. Well, if they're all fake reports, then why would you assume that somebody's leaking it? It sounds like people are just making stuff up about you. The only way you would know that there's 100% leaking is if people are actually leaking real, true information. Isn't that pretty much the case? In that same press conference via Zach Rosenblatt, Aaron Rodgers is going from, quote, I think so, to I'm not sure about his future. He said, quote, well, I think so, and I'm not sure are not too far off. I think if you look at what transpired in those 2 weeks, Joe got axed, Joe brought me in here. There's uncertainty with everybody on staff. I'm not naive to what the situation is, and if a new GM comes in and they don't retain Rich Ulbrich, I have to fit in those plans. So that's the first part. Like I said, this is my first option. I'd like to play here if I end up deciding to play, but there's got to be a want from them to want to bring me back and for me to want to play. But I think so was the truth, and I'm not 100% sure is also the truth today. So it did go from I think so to I'm not sure. In other words, he's kind of seeing the writing on the wall. The Jets are not going to have him back. They are completely That's the thing. They brought you in for a short term to just like win a Super Bowl, right? We're going to give you like a 3-year window. Hopefully we get some playoffs and a Super Bowl in there. If they're blowing that whole thing up, they gave up on that plan. And that includes you. You were the whole plan. To make things even worse, Jeff Ulbrich on Aaron Rodgers said he wants to watch the tape before commenting on his performance. And then when asked directly if he would consider benching Aaron Rodgers, he said, not as of today. That is not the way you answer that. If the answer to the question is honestly no, what would the answer be if Matt LaFleur was asked, is there any chance you would bench Jordan Love just randomly? Right, he had a good day against Miami, real solid play. He looked great. Can you imagine after the game if somebody just said, is there any consideration to benching Love? Do you think the answer would be not as of today? Of course not, because that's not how you answer that question. It's what are you talking about? Of course not. Why would you even ask that question? So the way things are going, there is a very real possibility Aaron Rodgers is going to end his career being benched. Dude made bad decisions, man. He spent the last 5 years just making bad decisions. Guy won MVP, thanks in large part to Matt LaFleur. Decided he was going to use that as leverage against the team that got him the MVPs, took every freaking penny the team had, then bragged about how he somehow gave the team a team-friendly deal, and then at the same time, when the team didn't have any money, decided to talk about how he's not getting any help, and then tries to go over GM Brian Gutekunst's head to tell the president of the team that he wants Brian Gutekunst fired. And when they refuse to do it, he says, on draft day, I want to be traded. Throws a hissy fit, continues to trash the team, refuses to talk to the team. Everybody has to bend over backwards, fly out to California, grovel, and he only decides to come back when he can bring his friends with him, like Randall Cobb, which end up being a disaster for the team. He insists on having players that are not very good. And while all of us are sitting here going, oh, poor Rodgers, he's stuck with guys like Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. Those are the guys that he's explicitly asking for. You want to know why Rodgers didn't get young wide receivers? He didn't want them. Every time we brought in young wide receivers, he was pissed. He wasn't happy about it. So then he throws another fit because the Packers dared to have conversations to see what interest was out there about Aaron Rodgers because he wouldn't talk to them. So they said, well, since we don't know what he's planning on, we need to understand we need to make sure we're prepared for all situations, which basic common sense due diligence would mean you'd have to call around and see what's out there. Is anybody actually even interested? Rodgers finds out that they're doing this, throws a piss fit, still refuses to talk to Brian Gutekunst, who tries to reach out, one last time, like, what are we doing? Nope, not talking to you. Tries to be civil, tries to be an adult. Rodgers doesn't answer his calls, goes on some nonsense thing about, well, I don't get any cell service, which is just an absolutely ridiculous freaking lie. All for this, via ESPN Bet. The Jets are the first team in the Super Bowl era to be favored in 9 of their first 12 games and be 3-9 or worse. 3-9 or worse. No other 3-9 team had even been favored by 8 of their first 12 games. What does that mean? They are the most overrated team in the history of football. All the expectations for the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the defense, the whole thing, literally, by the most strict definition, the most overrated team ever. And why were they overrated? Largely because Rodgers was overrated. The expectation that Rodgers is going to be able to come in and be 2011 Rodgers or 2014 Rodgers or even 2020 Rodgers, despite the fact that we saw a steep drop-off down in 2021 and a really steep drop-off down in 2022, and then the guy tore his Achilles, missed the entire year, and probably is not going to be able to be himself after an injury like that at his age. Despite that, we all still thought they were probably going to be a pretty good team, which was apparently stupid, because this team is garbage. Anyways, for those of you that were confused on why I've been rooting against the Jets, hopefully that kind of cleared it up for you. Why don't we take our first break? We'll come back, talk a little 49ers, a little Lions, see where it goes from there. We'll be right back. First of all, and again, this is from a little while ago, 27th. Very interesting and strange thing that has happened here. 49ers All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner has been playing with a fractured ankle since week 4. You remember when I went on and looked at certain players, and I looked at Fred Warner and I said he was injured in this game and he's been terrible ever since? Fractured ankle. God. It says he's relied on painkiller injections before the game. Can you imagine how much damage this guy is doing? Do you know how much force is applied to these guys' ankles? He has a fractured ankle and is numbing himself to such a degree that he can't feel the pain that he is inflicting on his own ankle. And the 49ers, by the way, are allowing this. If you didn't hate the 49ers before, I sure hope you do now, because that's absolutely terrible. To be so obsessed with trying to win a football game that you would put Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in football, one of the guys that has helped you become one of the great teams that you've been over the last several years, you're going to put his entire career in jeopardy, his entire livelihood and future as a human being, his well-being in jeopardy, by asking him or allowing him, or whatever the case may be, to play on a broken ankle while you inject his ankle with so much painkiller that he can't feel it. Until, of course, the painkiller wears off, I can't even imagine what kind of excruciating pain he's in. And all that just to go on and miss the playoffs. Karma, man. It's a real son of a gun, ain't it? Here's a little snippet from The Athletic. This is Matt Barrows. San Francisco 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, who began the season as if shot from a cannon, has looked a lot more ordinary over the past 2 months. Wednesday, he revealed why. He's been playing with a fractured ankle since the 49ers' Week 4 win over the New England Patriots. Quote, "It was a fracture when I sprained it," Warner said at his locker. So anytime you fracture a bone, if you just continue to play on it, the bone is usually not going to be able to heal. So you just got to continue to fight through it. So rather than letting it heal and then coming back healed, they just continue to damage it and damage it and damage it so it's never allowed to heal. And I can't imagine it's going to heal the same if you treat it right away as opposed to abuse it for 9 freaking weeks and then allow it to try to heal. I have a feeling it's not going to heal as well in the second scenario. He goes on to say, "It's something I deal with every game. I get on the table before the game and get it shot up every single game just to be able to roll, but it's not an excuse. It just is what it is. That's the NFL. You're not going to be healthy. You've got to get out there and find ways to execute and play at a high level and to win every single week." I mean, look, there's something to be said about playing, being tough and playing through injury. And I understand that some of this stuff is pain management. Some of this stuff, this is not that. This is a broken bone. I mean, listen, if you're a quarterback and you have a broken thumb or something on your non-throwing hand, okay, yeah, you put it in a cast, you keep on going. There are scenarios where those things happen. Brett Favre had a broken thumb on his throwing hand. Maybe it wasn't a great idea for him to be playing with that. I don't know. But again, you could talk me into dealing with some of this stuff. A linebacker's ankle fractured? Come on. He says, of course, I probably shouldn't get too much into it. I probably already made a mistake by even saying it. But yeah, back when I heard it, there was a bone fracture there. Of course he's not supposed to say it. Of course it's a big secret. Sam Monson goes on to say, "Somebody needs to explain the NFL injury report rules to me. Fred Warner has a broken ankle and hasn't been appearing on it." Imagine that. He goes on to say, Warner broke his ankle week 4. He appeared on it week 5 and 6, the injury report. Week 7 onwards, he's been off. In the same week that he was removed from the injury report, the 49ers were listing players with injury descriptions, resting player. In other words, how in the world do you get so specific with, this guy has a slight this or that, or we're going to rest this player, but somehow Warner is off the injury report entirely with a broken ankle? So, look, I spent so much time digging into that rule book about the blocked field goal against the Bears. I have no intention of going back down that rabbit hole again over something like this, but that's crazy. You got a guy with a broken... And listen, you can say you didn't know. Like, if you just didn't know and he's got ankle pain, although how could you not know? Of course, they're going to x-ray it, but whatever. Let's just say, they thought that he was getting better, and, he just said he wanted some pain medication just to kind of help him get through it, and he was the one masking kind of how that all that worked. You could maybe see how something like that could happen, except for the fact that he basically just admitted that everybody knew, and he probably shouldn't be saying all this. Jeez, man. As I say this, the 49ers game is on right now. Buffalo Bills are cutting right through them without very much issue. Currently 14-3 with 5 minutes left in the half. And down goes Purdy. I love this, man. This is beautiful football right here. Buffalo Bills playing in Buffalo Bill weather, and they get some weather out there, boy. I tell you, I went to a Bills game in this kind of weather. It was a thing of absolute beauty. But this is just the epitome of football. And then you've got the 49ers just absolutely falling apart. I mean, they're can't call it a dynasty because they didn't do a damn thing while they were a good football team, except go to the playoffs a couple times and lose 2 sacks in a row. Oh, Lord. But this is just bringing me pure joy. And the Buffalo Bills are such a good team right now. They're just going to dominate. I have, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, come on. Speaking of their so-called dynasty, this is from Grant Cohn, who's, again, I'm a fan of his because he's just a troublemaker. He speaks his mind, talks a lot of crap, and the 49ers hate him. So I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But he made the observation, Kyle Shanahan is on the verge of his 4th losing season in 8 years. Andy Reid has had 3 losing seasons in 26 years. I got to be honest, man. I think Kyle Shanahan's a very smart offensive mind and all that. That is pretty damning. It really is. You're looking at 50%. 50% over 8 years, losing seasons. Losing seasons. By the way, let me just run through a couple of his latest tweets as we close in on halftime here. It's almost like Kyle Shanahan should have eased Christian McCaffrey back into action. Remember we talked about that? A lot of 49ers fans are pissed that they forced him back in when he wasn't healthy. Turns out that's a pattern with Mr. freaking Kyle Shanahan. Also, get Brock Purdy out of this game. He's not right. These shotgun runs don't work tonight. Get the quarterback under center. Pretty obvious the 49ers don't want Brock Purdy throwing the ball more than a few yards downfield. If you can't trust your quarterback to make a throw on 3rd and 14, take your quarterback out. Kyle Shanahan looks like he doesn't want to be here. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It just feels so good. I know they've had a lot of losing seasons, I get it, but watching them get cut through like this, it's just giving me flashbacks of the playoff game where they had such giant holes to run through against our defense. Watching them just get bullied and embarrassed on this field. Watching Kyle Shanahan get embarrassed. Watching as every run goes for 10-plus yards. Got to be honest, folks. It's feeling good. And if the Bills do go on to win this game, that puts the 49ers, first of all, with a bunch of injuries, including Christian McCaffrey, who was just hurt again. I don't know what his status is, but that's where the whole they shouldn't have rushed him back thing came from. Drops them to 5-7 on the season. Anyways, we'll check back in with them as we continue to watch this. Moving on for now, I should have left the Grant Cohn thing up. I got to leave that up. I'll be sure to give you the live feed as the tweets come in. I underestimated how happy this is going to make me. Let's talk a little bit about the Detroit Lions. Couple little things here. First of all, as you already know, I am not a fan of Kyle Brandt. I don't know if maybe some of you disagree with me, agree with me. I have no idea. I don't know what it is. This guy annoys the living crap out of me. I don't know. There's something about his personality, something about how unbelievably confident he is in saying some really stupid things. He just has this, like, I don't know, this demeanor that is just like, I know I'm the best. And it's like, but you're super stupid. Here is, remember, Kyle Brandt is a Bears fan. Here is what he did on his CBS sports show or something.
Are you playing a backyard football game today? Because it feels like the Detroit Lions play one every single week. Fast, fun, ton of offense, bit of screaming sometimes. What? But remember a few years back, there was a real movement to end the Lions playing on Thanksgiving? It felt like turkey. No one actually wants it, but we just have it every year because it's tradition. Well, now the Lions are a treat. Now the Lions are pie. Time was...
What? Now they're a treat. Now they're pie. God, this guy's insufferable.
We had to watch the Lions with our family. Now we get to. What? And it's because the Lions went to work. Build your company the old-fashioned way. Hire strong leaders, hard workers, reward them, repeat. The Cowboys can be America's team. The Detroit Lions are the American dream. Bring
God.
it in. They're also the league's most likable team. Look, I was born and raised in Chicago. I love these Lions.
No, listen, you're just a bad fan. Okay, if you're admitting that you are a Chicago Bears fan and you love these Lions, maybe it's because your team sucks and you just got nothing else to do. I don't know. I don't know what it is. You're not supposed to love the Lions if you're a Bears fan.
Vikings fans, Packers fans, this huddle is a safe space. You can admit it. You kind of like the Lions. You have to.
No, I don't like the Lions. There's nothing likable about the Lions. What am I supposed to like about the Lions? You think Jared Goff is some super likable guy? There's nothing wrong with Jared Goff, but he's a subpar quarterback with no personality. What is likable about Jared Goff? Amon-Ra St. Brown? Is he a likable guy? I don't know anything about him other than he does a podcast with his brother and has a real smug attitude on his podcast. Honestly, they're a very boring team. I will agree they did some things the right way, and that is build through the trenches. And I will agree that their head coach seems to be a great leader, and the guys get behind him, and he knows how to build a culture. But this is a team that basically just runs well because of their offensive line and passes well because their mediocre quarterback can stay behind a really good offensive line. That's really all it is. You got guys that block well. That's the whole formula. That's everything. It's the only reason their running backs get so many yards. It's the only reason Goff is able to complete so many passes to the guys that are on his team. I mean, Amon-Ra is good and all, but there's no like star power here, you know? It's not like Randy Moss or AJ Green or DeAndre Hopkins back when he was, a stud or whatever. He's just good. He's not one of those guys that it's like, man, he's a problem. You know, like Megatron, where it's like, we got to put two guys on him, and even then, we're pretty screwed. There's nothing like that at all. In fact, the Packers have not had a really super hard time against him. 56 yards and a touchdown. Okay. He's gone over 100 yards 3 times this season. Who's the superstar? What is likable about them? They don't have a Pat Mahomes. They don't have a Travis Kelce. And I don't even like that team, but I can recognize what star power is. There's no real personality here. It's a team that used to be bad that's good. I'm sorry, but sometimes that happens. I don't have to love it every time it happens. Washington was bad last year. Do I love them now? The Texans were bad until they got Stroud, and now they're not bad because things changed and then they changed. The Chiefs before Mahomes, well, not quite, but a little bit before. Prior to Alex Smith, just an absolute joke of a franchise. And you're telling me that the Vikings, Bears, and Packers fans have to like the Lions? There's nothing likable about them. Even their coaches, aside from the head coach, I'm talking about the coordinators. Who are they? I know they're like big names or whatever, but you don't see them. Now, when you play the Vikings, you go up against a real stiff defense, and they show that defensive coordinator constantly, and everybody's terrified of that guy. I don't even remember the name of the Lions defensive coordinator. They got a pretty good coach, but a lot of teams do. I think the Packers do. I think the Vikings do. What is compelling about the Lions? Cool offensive line. That's fun.
Deep. Their head coach is WWE meets Applebee's. What's more American than that? How about a comeback? None better than their quarterbacks. They have running backs named after Genesis games. They got a pair of wideouts and a tackle named after a sun god, whiskey, and pasta. What?
Why is that relevant? Like, I know this is like half joking, but why are we even doing this skit if we're just saying stupid things?
And the best lion chemistry since Simba and Nala. Call it the circle of life. Woo! Goodbye to the Detroit Lions of Thanksgiving past. This is a new Lions, a new Thanksgiving, a new era, and we're gonna see them in New Orleans. Ah, boom! Come on!
You're gonna see them in New Orleans. No, you're not gonna see them in New Orleans. You're not. Because I don't think in the playoffs they beat the Packers. I don't think they beat the Eagles. I'm not sure what other NFC teams are worth a damn, but, whatever. I don't think they're going, man. I'm sorry. Not the way they're currently playing. Not when you can barely beat the Chicago Bears. And you got the Eagles beating the Baltimore Ravens. You're telling me today, when you got the Lions just within inches, within, 3 unbelievably stupid decisions away by the Bears from losing to the Bears, and you got Philadelphia beating Baltimore 24-19 on the road in Baltimore, and you're telling me that I think that the Eagles would lose to Detroit? Washington hung 42 points, 42-19 against Tennessee. Do I think they beat Washington? I don't know. I don't know if they beat Minnesota. The way they just played Arizona, I know that was a damn close game. It's pretty stifling. Anyways, dumbest crap in the world. Oh, you gotta like them. No, I don't. Nobody likes the Lions. It was endearing for like 5 seconds when they, went from losing every game to losing only, or winning like 3 or something, It was like, aw, look at them. Then they make it to the playoffs and get their teeth kicked in by the exact same team that knocked us out and want to go on and brag like they did something better than we did. Sorry, your playoff run was less impressive than the Packers' playoff run. I do not care. Oh, we got farther. What does that even mean? Who gives a crap if you got farther? You played 2 garbage teams and then lost to the 49ers. No, I'm not impressed by them. I don't like them. I don't care about them. I'm not intrigued by them. I find them very annoying. Not as annoying as Kyle Brandt, but annoying. Anyways, kind of an interesting thing here. Jahmyr Gibbs posted something on his Instagram, and apparently, well, not apparently, I'm looking at it. There is a whiteboard in the background with a bunch of lingo on it. It says drop back protections. It's got a whole bunch of lingo and everything else on there. And David Bakhtiari says, yikes, this is very damning. Players are pretty universal. It's the code words they assign and use at every line of scrimmage that is a problem. Going to have to completely revamp new words to assign, no huddle code words or OTL code words. Now, I don't know what exactly they're going to do about this. I'm assuming David Bakhtiari is right. And the good thing about that is that when you have to revamp all this stuff, that is going to take a lot of time. Not just coming up with it, but implementing it and teaching everybody this stuff. There's a very high chance, I suppose, that there could be mistakes. If you're going no huddle or whatever and you're trying to call things out, there's a good chance that somebody's not quite up to date on what it is you're talking about. Or the Lions maybe get a little cocky, get a little bold and say, the Packers probably think we're going to change it. We're not. We're just going to march out there and play. Packers need to be on top of this. They need to be studying that, and they need to be teaching their defenders all about that stuff. Just on the off chance they decide to get a little arrogant. Here was the head coach learning that this was a thing during a press conference.
Gibbs, he had a social media post where, there was a bunch of plays or partial calls on the whiteboard behind him. Is that something where you need to just remind a player to, be smart about what they're posting on social media? Is there anything, that could...
Who's that?
I believe Gibbs posted a photo of Jefferson with a bunch of, lingo on the whiteboard in the running back room behind him.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Okay. Yeah, I need to check on that then. Did not know that. Yeah, I'd rather our stuff not be out there. Thanks.
So, yeah, he takes his papers and walks off after that one. The follow-up on that, by the way, the next time there was a press conference, they wanted, now that you know, let's see what he says. Here's what it was.
We were alarmed when we saw and learned about the photo being released online, maybe being...
No comment.
I know, but just in terms of just repetitive bounds, do changes get made or...
No comment.
No comment. It's always bad when they start pulling the no comments. Now, a lot of people are concerned, speculating whatever, that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be punished or benched or whatever. I would be stunned if they decide to bench Jahmyr Gibbs prior to the Packer game or during the Packer game. That would, maybe if it was a different game, they would consider it. I have a hard time believing that they would go to those lengths. I think that they're going to keep that internal. They're not going to tell anybody what happened. I'm sure he has to do something, Can't let something like that slide, but what can you do? Anyways, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Packers stuff because I don't want to go Packerless. Maybe we'll save the Bears stuff for tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Well, it's halftime. Let's do a quick Grant Cohn update. Bench Brock, start Dobbs. Purdy is not confident in his arm to make a throw. This game is over. Pull Purdy. The offense has 3 points. Criticize the head coach. By the way, he's quote tweeting Chase Daniel there, who says the 49ers defense has completely lost their fight. They're straight up getting embarrassed out there. And he says the offense has 3 points. Criticize the head coach. Josh Dobbs needs to play in the second half. Also, this is Pro Football Doc, says the previous CMC Christian McCaffrey play is likely where his knee injury happens. Worry for right knee PCL sprain on a shoestring tackle. The next run, he doesn't feel right and goes down. Couple interesting little tidbits that I found about the Packers here. This via Wes Hodkwitz. Interesting superlative I found while searching the O-line story. The Packers are the only NFL team that lists 3 offensive linemen from the same draft class as starters: Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, and Sean Ryan, 2022. It's cool because it doesn't happen often. That is actually very impressive, especially when you consider that Zach Tom is a 4th-round pick, Rasheed Walker is a 7th-round pick. They're both offensive tackles, and they're both actually playing quite well, with Zach Tom being one of the top tackles in football and Rasheed Walker being up there, at least as far as pass blocking is concerned. Observation from Andrew Brandt. Love and Tua signed mega contracts on the same day using the same agency, making roughly the same money. I choose Love. Is very good observation, as much as, again, there may be some frustration with Love, with the Packers, with this guy, with that guy. Context is important here. You look around the NFL and you see a lot of things that make you grateful to be a Packers fan. This Sunday in particular, I'm watching football and going, man, everybody is garbage. And then you got to remember again, that game that we just played, Packers versus Miami Dolphins, you've got, as he said, identical case studies. Who would you choose? It's not even close. And it's not even because of the injury stuff. Leave that off. Let's say there's no concussion history, nothing. If you're taking Tua, you're wrong. Little note from November 29th via Easton Butler. Packers worked out linebacker Michael Barrett, linebacker Sterling Weatherford, linebacker Tyler Murray, offensive guard J.D. Dorenzo, offensive guard Marquise Hayes, and wide receiver Rory Starkey. Usually these don't mean a ton, especially when you're talking about just kind of rotating through the practice squad or whatever. But considering the injuries we've had at linebacker, where McDuffie almost didn't play and Edgerrin Cooper's injured, and then you look at guard and the fact that, we're starting to get pretty thin on the offensive line. We almost lost Josh Myers, or almost didn't play in that game. A lot of concerns about depth. So tend to think that, as far as I know, none of these guys actually ended up getting signed, but they're exploring their options in terms of if things happen, what could we possibly do about it. Another interesting tidbit from Wendell Ferreira. The Packers are the only team in the NFL with 2 players who've had 6+ receiving touchdowns this season, Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft. And I got to be honest, I was a little surprised to see Tucker Kraft. I didn't realize that he was leading the team in receiving touchdowns, first of all. But then when I looked into it, it turns out, he's doing quite well among tight ends to begin with. He's leading the league in missed tackles. He's second in touchdowns. I guess I shouldn't be super surprised, but it just kind of felt like Tucker was kind of overcoming a low bar, as I guess is kind of how I saw it. He'd catch one or two passes here and there. He'd usually break a tackle, which is kind of a cool thing. It just wasn't really registering how regularly and how impactful a lot of this stuff has been. So another very cool thing, because this is something we just haven't had. I mentioned before, I don't know if it was this podcast or last night's or what, but the running back situation, I think it was Packernet After Dark, when you look at just how grateful we should be for having a guy like Josh Jacobs and what he's able to do. Very similarly, we should be not only did Tucker Kraft break the third round curse, when was the last time we had a really good tight end? Now, you can judge really good however you want, but I am much more critical even of tight ends than a lot of other fans are. They'll go back to Jermichael Finley, which I will die on that hill that he was never as good as people made him out to be. I feel like it's revisionist history, because I'm pretty sure at the time we all knew he wasn't quite as good as we had hoped that he would be, but now it's like, oh no, he was one of the best. It's like, oh, okay. Another fun little note, this one from Diana Rossini, a little bit of a hat nod, or whatever you call it, tip of the hat, whatever. A decision maker planning on a coaching change for 25, so we're talking about, could be somebody like the Bears president or something, emphasized a trend they aim to bring to their team, a physical brand of football, highlighting teams like the Chiefs, Packers, and Lions. He noted that this season has shown importance of a strong run game as part of winning. And this was talked about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whenever it was, with Aaron Rodgers. It's been a known thing for a while that, the NFL evolves, and when you've got the NFL going very heavy into a too high, we want to take away all the explosive plays thing, then the NFL adapts and becomes a stronger, more physical team. The Packers kind of led the way with that. We've been talking about how they've been building that for some time, and we're just starting to see the fruits of that a little bit. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to have to do, and it's not that we don't have it, because I think to some degree we do, but that also applies to our defense, because the offenses are going to start to become more physical. You need a defense that can rise to that occasion, and not just be bullied. Oh, fumble. Oh, my Lord, are you kidding me? The 49ers finally drove all the way down the field. They actually looked really impressive. And on the 2-yard line, the guy fumbles. Oh, how's that feel, boys? How's that feel? It doesn't hurt you as much as you hurt me, so hopefully there's more pain coming. Couple of things from last week. Speaking of physical and just being able to be a tough football team, the kind of team that battles in things like cold weather. Cameron Wolfe tweeted out a little quote from Josh Jacobs. Packers running back Josh Jacobs on the Dolphins says, "Them boys look cold out there." Agreeing with that sentiment is Dolphins linebacker Jordan Brooks, who thinks the cold weather was the reason they played soft.
I know you pride yourself on being a very physical football player. Did you feel like the team played physical enough tonight?
No, I felt like we let the elements control the way that we played. As a group, I thought we were soft. Simple as that. I thought we were soft today.
And when you say the elements, what do you mean?
I don't know if guys was too cold. I don't know what it was, but I felt like the elements played a part in how we played as a group. And so, and that was the results that we got.
Bottom line, everybody recognized, including the Miami Dolphins, that the Packers are by far the more physical team. To take it to the extent that a defensive player saying we played soft because it was cold. And then you got the Packers running back, who is one of the most violent running backs in football. Him and frickin' Connor from Arizona. That guy's a tank. And Derrick Henry and whatnot. I just happened to see him, and I was like, oh, Lord, that guy's strong. But you got him just standing at his locker going, yeah, they look pretty cold, didn't they? The Packers are becoming that Marshawn Lynch team. That quote from Marshawn Lynch, something to the effect of, I learned early on, when you just run through somebody's face, they don't like it very much. And so you just do it over and over and over and over and over again. The Packers are now that team that punches people in the mouth, and they don't like it. They're the ones that hit hard and get other teams to start to back off. to start to, brace for impact when the Packers are coming downhill. Another note from last week, Matt LaFleur says Packers didn't think on Sunday night that Isaiah McDuffie was going to be able to make the quick turnaround because of his ankle. He played 63 snaps, all on defense, finishing with 10 tackles, a forced fumble, and a key third down breakup. So massive hat tip to Isaiah McDuffie. Hopefully we don't find out that he broke his ankle and just got shot up with painkillers. That would not be great considering everything I just said. And, of course, we can't not play the locker room speech. And so I'm going to be honest with you. I saved this and haven't listened to it yet, so we'll do this one together.
I'll tell you what. Give it up for everybody in this locker room, man. 2 games, 5 days. We handled our business, man. We handled our business. Total team effort. I got to give it up to our defense, man. Holding these guys. 14 carries. 39 yards on the ground. Hell yeah. 5 sacks. Hell yeah. And I'll tell you what, the biggest play though, they had a 2nd and goal on the 1 yard line. And we didn't flinch. And we held their ass on a goal line stand. So give it up for the defense. A lot of guys balled out on offense. Our quarterback was 21 of 28. We had 25 carries for 114 yards.
I love it. I've noticed this the last 2 or 3. Every once in a while, he'll put out a stat, and somebody, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's Rashawn. He gets a little chirpy. You can hear him in the background go, "Stupid." I don't know. I guess that's a compliment. I have to start using that. Be like, my wife makes something good for dinner. Be like, "Stupid." I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated.
Jay Reed with 2 tugs. But I got 1 game ball. And this guy had some stuff go down in his personal life and was playing with a heavy heart today. And he kind of set us off, man, by recovering that fumble on the punt.
Yes, sir.
Where's Scoot at?
It meant a lot to me going out there tonight. I lost 2 of my partners earlier today, tragedy, but I still showed up because I love my teammates. I'm going to be here every day.
And we love you!
Hey, man, proud of y'all boys, man. Let's keep stacking these days. Let's come in and get ready to go back to work.
Pack on 3. 1, 2, 3.
And because of that win, there's a shift out there. Not that it's necessarily been anti-Packers, but there's always been some hesitance. I mean, from me and from a lot of fans too, but I feel like this one changed a lot of people's opinions, and you're now starting to hear more and more things like this.
Digress. Yes, the Packers have my attention. They should have everybody's attention. The Packers is a really good football team. And the Packers are a really good football team. Number 1, they playing really good defense. Number 2, they are going through number 8. And if you don't know him, his name is Josh Jacobs, and he's going through the run game.
Nice.
And you have a quarterback that can throw the football with the best of them, with a lot of young talent around him. This is a really good Green Bay Packers football team, but I believe the game yesterday was the best game they played all season. Jordan Love is healthy. They played really good defensively. Offense ran the ball well, and they threw the ball well, but you were playing a quality opponent. We have been like this as the Green Bay Packers. So it's tough if you really don't follow the Green Bay Packers, for you to truly say, man, this team is legit. But watching the game yesterday, I'm like, this is the Green Bay Packers that can go all the way to the Super Bowl. Run the football, quarterback playing really good football, really good defense, right? And they can accomplish what they want. But the Packers are the real deal, especially with Jordan Love being 100% healthy now after dealing with the groin and the knee injury.
Packers are starting to get a lot more recognition, as I think people are starting to feel as though maybe the record isn't a fluke. Maybe it was, but maybe it isn't anymore, if that makes any sense. In other words, the team right now and the way that they're playing is a 9-win team. Anyways, the injury report, which oddly enough, this Sunday is kind of like a Wednesday or whatever, I don't know. Cornerback Jair Alexander with a knee injury and wide receiver Romeo Doubs concussion protocol both returned to practice. Edgerrin Cooper with a hamstring was on the bike, and cornerback Corey Ballantyne, knee injury, was working with trainers off to the side. Obviously, having Jair and Romeo back is super fantastic, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be playing or whatever. In fact, Romeo Doubs is still officially in concussion protocol. Again, I don't fully understand how that works, but you're obviously allowed to do some things with concussion protocol, apparently. It was a very light practice, so I'm guessing that made it easier for certain guys to get out and do stuff. Packers coach Matt LaFleur said the team went through individual drills and then a jog through to help save players' legs after a quick turnaround. So some people point out it's not a quick turnaround, it's a week, but fair enough. George Kittle can't catch now. You ain't built for the snow, boys, or what? Man, this super tough football team, I tell you what, not handling the elements too well. But yeah, I think, they've kind of taken a beating. They had 2 games in a very short period of time, so I think that's more or less what Matt LaFleur meant, and going to work on preserving the players a little bit. Before we get out of here, let's do one final Grant Cohn update. The 49ers pay he hates Kyle Shanahan so much. This dude's got a huge ego, you can tell. And so when Kyle Shanahan takes a shot at him, he's going to put you on his list. The 49ers pay Kyle Shanahan $14 million per season. He should have had his players more prepared for this game. Somebody commented, which he quote tweeted or retweeted, he was prepared. Game plan was run CMC 45 times. Next update, CMC is officially out. Highest paid fullback in football just fumbled inside the 4-yard line. You hate to see it. Who would have thought that the great Kyle Juszczyk would put the final nail in the 49ers coffin this season? Not me. I'm a big fan of his. There's a video here of Christian McCaffrey. I can't tell if it's actually what it appears to be. It's oh my, look at McCaffrey's left calf. I think the assumption is that he maybe tore his Achilles. I don't know that would have anything to do with it or not. I think the video just kind of looks like something that it isn't, but who knows, maybe. He goes on to say, if only someone had told Kyle Shanahan not to play Kyle Juszczyk so much this season. George Kittle has 1 target tonight. Someone tell the genius to get him the ball. Oh, man, does he hate Kyle Shanahan. I wish he would have put the genius in quotes, but I think we get the point. Kyle Shanahan's dad coached the Denver Broncos. He should know how to coach in the snow. This is pathetic. Oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff, man. We got to track this through the season. We got to keep track of these boys. I want to see these battles. We got to check out the press conferences. I want to know if Grant Cohn has got press access to talk to Kyle Shanahan still, because I want to hear that interaction. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. We got some of these notes all caught up, so we'll be off and running, getting prepared for this freaking Lions game here. You guys have a good rest of your night. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.